the study guide is basically something that was written to help us study this book here. This is the After Goddess Dibia Volume 1. There's also a Volume 2, but I'm still reading Volume 1. And so as I'm reading Volume 1, where I like to review what I'm learning with you guys and continue to promote the Igbo knowledge of Igbo culture, Igbo cosmology, and all those things. So if you don't have the book, it's not mandatory for you to have this book in order to study along, but it's something that I like to refer to as we are doing our study group. So today's topic is Eziokwu Bondo ma Okwase Bonwu. This is one of the foundational concepts in this in Adnanibo. So we're starting in this book from page what page are we starting from? We're starting in this book from page 1, actually chapter 1, part 1. The last study we studied the preface, and then on my birthday, which was a special episode, we studied something from later on in the book about numerology. But today we're going to study chapter 1, which is basic Igbo cosmological foundations. And the first thing that it starts with an introduction, it says Eziokwu Bondo ma Okwase Bonwu. And this is one of the foundational concepts. I believe there's a reason why John Anenechukwu Ume, I believe there's a reason why he started the book with that particular phrase, Eziokwu Bondo ma Okwanwu Bo. I believe there's a reason he started the book with that phrase. And I believe the reason is, first of all, he wants to establish a standard for this book. Because this After Goddess Dibia, there's a lot of superstition, there's a lot of falsehood surrounding Dibia culture, Nalibo. Like, there's a lot of falsehood surrounding that culture. And John Anenuchukwu Ume wanted to start the book. This is my opinion anyway. Start the book with something that establishes the culture of the Dibia as being based in Eziokwu. If you want to get somebody to trust you, or if you want to have integrity in something that you do, you have to begin with Eziokwu. So John and then may start chapter 1 just with that simple but classic Igbo phrase, Eziokwu Bondo ma Okwase bo onwu. So I think that's the way he started the book. So we're gonna start our study today by exploring that concept, exploring the concept of Eziokwu Bondo. They're watching that into no and your names help me so much in trying to speak Igbo properly. So they won't. So as I said, the study guide is in the comments section. So if you guys would please go to the study guide, or if you don't have study guide, you can just follow along. But everything I'm asking is in the study guide, and everything I'm referring to is inside of this here book called After Goddess Dibia. So we'll just get it going because I don't want to waste too much time today, because I do have a meeting in about 1 hour. So I definitely want to be able to do this in less than 1 hour, in like 30 minutes or so. So the first question in today's session is basically we're studying, like I said, chapter 1, pages 1 and 2 of After Goddess Dibia. And so on page 1, Professor Ume cites one of Ilu Nke Ndibo when he says, Eziokwu Bondo Okwase Bonwu, which means in Beke, truth is life, falsehood is death. Okay? So many of us know this phrase. It's often quoted. So the first question in the underneath that is, what does this mean? And how is truth equal to life? The question. What does this mean? Eziokwu Bondo Okwase Bonwu. What does this mean? And how can truth be equal to life? I'm going to give you time to think about that question. And as you're thinking about that question, I want you to think of the way that you will answer that question. Ndewo Emmanuel Chukwueme. Chukwume. I want you to think about Chukwubagiume, Chinwada. Okay, yes, I've already greeted you. Ndewo. As you're thinking about that question, how is truth equal to life, or how can truth be equal to life? As you're thinking about that question, let's reflect on equality. Equality in Asụsụ Igbo. In Asụsụ Igbo, there's two types of equality, which is represented by the verb is, to be. There is bo and there is de. Bo is a permanent equality. Bo is a finite, a definite equality, but de is something that is transient, is flexible, is so you can say afọ lekede. Afọ lekede. There you see the de. Why is that de when you ask about the age? It's because you may be 25 today, but tomorrow you're 26. So you use de there. But when you ask somebody about their name, you say ahage obogene, bo obogene. That bo means your name is something that is more permanent about you. So the equality of bo and de, onye geku, play save or God sent, there will that bo versus that de is very important in Igbo language, because it will tell you the level of equality that two things have. Bo means that it is definite. So when you see things about, when people talk about Chukwu in Igbo, even in Christianity, when they talk about Chukwu, because the concept of God is permanent, anytime you see that Chukwu, most of the times you see bo, but sometimes you do see de, because Chukwu de, will tell you also something about Chukwu. But there are certain times you see that bo, and if you check well, you see that every time you see bo, it's about something that is unchanging. But when you see de, it's usually about something that is changing or changeable. So, you can tell somebody that's ahambo, but you will say afọ ole ka ede. Adem afọ irinotu. So that is the way that you will talk about bo versus de. So when you're saying Eziokwu bondo, you're saying that truth is life. But you're not just saying truth is life. You're saying truth is life, and truth will always be life. Eziokwu bondo. It doesn't say Eziokwu dendo, because then that will mean the truth is alive or something, or So Eziokwu bondo, which means the truth is life instead of truth is alive, but it can die tomorrow or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's a significance to Eziokwu bondo. So now my question is, how and why do we say in Igbo culture that Eziokwu bondo? And the reason that John the Anenechukwu Ume goes into many things. He doesn't really talk about why, and I don't really want to reflect on exactly why he said it, but he really said so in this book, After Goddess Dibia, for the specific purpose of creating a parallel between truth and the significance of truth in Igbo culture. So he goes on to say, Mba na so nonu nonu, ma ebucha ikili obolofu. And that means that, you can speak language, different communities may speak their own language, but at the end of the day, what they're saying, like the morals, the ideas behind it, are generally all the same. So we are not saying two different things. We're all saying the same thing. So that's one of the concepts behind truth that John Anenechuku Ume wants us to focus on, and we're going to come back to that, but keep that in mind. Mbanasu no 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 Mwebuchi kili obolofu. So we have to keep that in mind. And then going on, you now see he also says mo na madu nazo afia nazo. Okay, because Bagaram, because my Igbo is not like, I may speak with bad poor intonation, poor Igbo intonation, because you know, I have a speech impediment called Beke. They raised me in Ala Beke, so my speech is terrible. But I'm trying, and I hope you can understand what I'm saying when I speak. Mo na madu nazo afia mana ofeke amara. So there is a truth that exists. There's a truth, a real truth that exists that we must all be consistently aware of. And it's not to be aware of the truth, but it's to be aware that a truth exists. A truth exists, and that in the Igbo culture, we are responsible for finding that truth. As Igbo people, we are responsible for finding that truth and knowing that that truth that exists is life. Eziokwu bondo. Eziokwu bondo. So when he gives those proverbs, and he's saying that no matter what culture you're in, even if there's different cultures that speak differently, that's at the end of the day, when you break it all apart, we're all saying the same thing. When you understand that concept, that you realize that a truth exists. It's not something that we are making up. A truth exists. Eziokwu bondo, and that truth is gine ndo, life. So that is the moral, that is the lesson that John Anenechukwu wants us to understand here in After Goddess Dibia. A truth exists, and as Igbo people, we are responsible for finding that truth in order to get life. So, okay, good. So, now that truth exists across communities, across cultures. As he said, all buchia ikili, then it's all the same. Okay, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but there's a truth that exists. That's the first step. Everybody, all these different cultures will have that truth in it somehow, but we are saying it in our own way. So therefore, Igbo people have their own way of expressing that truth, and that the way that we express that truth is unique to the way we live our lives. Okay, I'm here in Anabeke, and I've been to Anibo. I've lived in Anibo for 3 straight years. That was the longest expanse of time that I stayed without leaving Anibo. And, you know, as I was there for 3 years, I observed many things in terms of like how we live our lives in Anibo. It's different. It's fundamentally different from the way life is lived here in Anabeke. And it's not just because of technology. It's also because there is a different thing in the atmosphere in Anibo. There's a different thing in the atmosphere, and it's not going to change. The agriculture is different. The way that, and even in Anabeke, there's like, if you go to California, it's different from if you go to the East Coast in Washington, D.C. or New York. It's different, and it's fundamentally different at that. And when I say fundamentally different, I mean the agriculture is different. The way people behave is different. The way people talk is different. And it's different because and based on the fact that, everything around it, what's in the atmosphere is just fundamentally different. So people behave according to their environment. So we can't expect to translate or transfer things exactly over from one culture to the other, because as I said, there's something in the atmosphere. People live according to their environment. Okay, that being said, we can still say that Eziokwu bondo, and that all cultures have their way of expressing that truth. There is a truth, and as Igbo people, it is our job to find that truth. So as there is a truth, and there is our job as Igbo people to find that truth. So what is that truth, and how do we know we are seeking it and finding it and that we have found it? There were Ike one anedo. She said, "Good job, my sister. Only the gods will bless you for telling the truth." Amen. Okay, he said. So as Igbo people, we are responsible for finding that truth. Okay, so how do we know we are in correct pursuit of that truth, or if that truth is something that we have found? Okay, good question. So what I'll say to that, as far as like finding that truth, as I've said, culturally there are differences. Mana, there are also something that there's also something fundamentally true to all of us, and that is what I love about Igbo culture, and that's what I love about the proverbs that we have in Anibo, because one thing that Igbo people understand that many people on other cultures have lost is that there is a truth, and that truth can be diluted. That truth can be lost if care is not taken. And when I say that, I mean there's a culture in Igbo land. There's a culture amongst Igbos to speak in proverbs, in Ilu Igbo. I don't even like to call it proverbs because Ilu Igbo is different from the proverbs that you see in the Bible, where it says, guard your heart, for there before the well springs of life. All that stuff is different because Ilu Igbo is something as a very unique technology. It is a way of preserving truth and not diluting it. That's what I've taken from the way when people are speaking proverbs. You see, there's a way and there's a reason and there's a process to the speaking and the transferring of knowledge through proverbs. They take a very fundamental truth that is not undiluted and untampered, and they pass it on through the technology of Iluibo. Like, it's very different from what you get in Christian proverbs, which is something that people use to teach you a moral lesson or teach you Iluibo is very different. When they say Madubuchibe, yeah, like it's not something that is that, or when they say Ebe Burugo, Ebe Bere Ugo Bere, guess Ibe ya Bere Ebezina Ka Unko Kwaya, like these proverbs, there's a way that they say it, and if you don't take care and say things so that they're pure truth, that's it's done for a reason. But if you don't and it's also done to preserve your offer na ogu. It's done for the sake of your own personal integrity, but it's also done out of care and love and trying to preserve the homeostasis, the balance of society. So there's an importance about truth in Igbo culture. And that proverb is a technology that we use to preserve that truth in all that we do. Now, because of, the coming of different foreign cultures, we have allowed a culture of, amomo guy and all that stuff like I say to permeate our culture, so that people have thrown away the morality of Eziokwu Bundu for the lie, really falling in love with the concept of telling lies and, trying to be deceptive. So people have taken it to believe that the reason why people are misunderstanding you is because it's important for you to be deceptive in order to get your way. But the fact of the matter is, Igbo is not a culture that teaches or practices deception intentionally. But if we should disguise our speech or preserve the truth in the things that we say through proverbs or through, not speaking directly about something, the purpose is not to deceive you or deceive somebody, but to just preserve the truth. And if you choose to misunderstand this truth that I have preserved in the way that I've taken care in the use of my speech, that's your fault. It's on you. Like, you have to, as Igbo people, we believe that it is our job to seek the truth, because Eziokwu Bundu. So if I've said something and you have misunderstood what I've said, it's not my fault. But if I have intentionally been deceptive or intentionally been, somehow towards you, then that is also, that is my own doing. And so these are the things that we as Igbo people have to come to terms with. Like, we like to, like, our people today, like, when you think about what is wrong with our people, we can all agree that there's something amiss amongst our people in today's day and age. There's something amiss. There's something different. We've fallen from glory, if you will. And so when you try to figure out what that is, this is one of the fundamental elements, our straying away from Eziokwu Bondo Okwase Bonwo. And so as I've described it for you, there is literally something that is true in all cultures all the time, and was our job as Igbo people, is our culture to seek that truth, and that there's a truth that permeates, but there's also things that are not permeable and do not transfer from culture to culture. There are some things that is unique for Igbo people and only true for us as a community, as a culture, and as a group of people that have an inherent power within us. There's a truth that is true for us and gives us our strength and gives us our power and makes us adaptable and strong within our own communities and within our own environments. And then there's something that is true for all the different cultures. So it's our job as Igbo people. We believe that Eziokwu Bondo. So it's our job to seek that truth, to chot that Eziokwu, like find what that truth is. That's part of our job, and it's a lifelong job. It's a lifelong process. So that being said, the first phrase, Eziokwu Bondo, the companion to that, if you will, the complement to that is Okwase Bonwo. Okwase Bonwo. So there's a lot to that Okwase Bonwo, but I won't go. I don't want to go too deep into Okwase, because in talking about Eziokwu, you're also talking about Okwase, but Okwase is, lies, right? Is deception. It's, but a person will have to ask themselves, when you talk about Eziokwu and Okwase, like, who is the speaker of that truth or lie, and who is it giving life or death to? Who is the speaker of that truth or lie, and who is it giving life or death to? Is it my truth that is my life, and is it your truth that is your life, or is it my truth that becomes life to you, and my lie that becomes death to you, or is it to me? So that is a whole other, thing. And this is not me teaching, I want you guys to get into comment section, please, and also share with me what your thoughts are. Like, what are you getting from what I'm saying? Like, how do you see this Eziokwu Bondo Okwase Bonwo? Like, what is how is the truth? Like, whose truth is it, and who is it giving life to, and who is it giving death to? So let me leave that up to you guys to answer. I don't want to put my own thoughts on that one, because that's a matter of opinion, honestly. But I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are on that one. I'm going to go ahead and look at the other questions for question 1. I'm going to actually cut this broadcast in about 5 minutes, because it's not just that I don't want to go on too long, but it's also because I have a meeting in about 30 minutes, which I need to make that meeting. So the questions, if you look at the study guide, the questions for today are: what does this mean? What does Eziokwu Bondo and Okwase Bonwo mean? And how does the traditional Igbo man pursue truth? What about falsehood is death? Give some examples of how falsehood has led to death in your life. And do you believe that truth is universal? Now, in these questions, i.e., do you believe that what is true for others is true for you, and vice versa? Now, I've already kind of answered these questions in some ways throughout the course of this video. So if you joined us late, feel free to watch the playbacks of the video and try and understand, to try to grab what I'm saying, and whether or not, and how your own interpretation of it, and how you will answer these questions. So I'm actually going to end this broadcast in 1 minute, but I just want to say thank you to those who joined us. Thank you for those who joined us on this broadcast, and thank you for those um, who commented, who answered questions. Um, ultimately, the topic of the day, which is Eziokwu Bundu Okwase Bu is a very important one for us to consider as Igbo people. So, yeah, based on what I've said today, what I would like you to do is to go to the study guide for this particular um, broadcast, which I will put as the description, which I will put in the description of the broadcast. I would like you to go to that study guide, and in the comment section, or even in the comment section of this video, answer question one. Just answer question one for me, and we will discuss your responses in the next broadcast, which will happen next Saturday at 4 p.m. Niger time. Okay, so they want to take care and stay safe, everybody, in this Corona season. Yeah, bye bye.